God is watching. You have to be just. You can't be unjust about these things. A lot of the time what happens is that somebody is bothering you, and then suddenly the tables turn and something happens and they're struck with some kind of calamity, and then you gloat about it. You feel like, yes, it's because you did this to me, that's why. God knows, maybe that is the case. But then it leads to us aggressing even further. Sometimes what happens is that if there's somebody oppressing us and we don't have any support, and then suddenly, mashallah, we get some support from somewhere, what happens is that we end up then oppressing them even further. Right? We're oppressing them much worse than, because we feel it's justified. I've heard so many people say, no, it's justified, they deserve it. Well, they deserve a certain amount, no doubt, right? And you are allowed to, avenge yourself to a certain degree, but then you can't go overboard. There's no justification for that. And that's where it gets very, very complicated as to how much you are actually able to do in response. Because a lot of things are very abstract. You can't really measure or quantify these things. So that's why it gets very difficult. That's why we need to err on the side of caution. So while we are allowed to give back as much as you get, but you go anywhere beyond that, and then that becomes a burden upon us in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we become the oppressor. And when you become the oppressor, when anybody becomes the oppressor, they lose the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You gain, remember this, that you gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's side and His assistance with you as long as you are not the oppressor, but you are the oppressed one. Right? اتقي دعوة المظلوم فإنه ليس بينه وبين الله حجاب, as the hadith mentions, which means that be careful of the prayer of the oppressed one. Be careful of the prayer of the oppressed one, because there's no barrier and veil between it and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So